Think I can fly. Think I can fly when I'm with you. My arms are wide. Catching.
All right, this is our first blog interview.
Yeah.
Got Jordan Farr here from the Indy 11. I'm really excited to sit down and talk with him. Appreciate you doing this for me.
No problem.
I'm excited to talk a little bit of goalkeeping, talk about how you got to where you are right now in terms of professional goalkeeper. A little bit about your journey, a little bit about a little insight from you on goalkeeping, and then just talk.
Yeah, see where it takes us, huh?
So I'm excited to have you here. How's the journey here?
It was good. It's North Carolina is like, especially Charlotte is like a second home a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy being back, playing with the Eagles, of course.
Oh yes.
With James,
Okay.
and Will. So those guys were. I have a lot of family, second family here in Charlotte, and so I'm excited to be back. The trip was great. Preparation this week's been awesome. We've had 2 weeks off, 2 weeks off. So we're excited to play the Independence tomorrow. So
That's actually I didn't remember that you had played for the Eagles, but that's awesome.
right, yeah.
That
We talked
you've
so
been here.
briefly about it.
Yeah, I know we met at the Houston Combine, so I want to get into that a little bit later. But right now, I just introduce yourself, like exactly who you are,
Sure.
where you're from, how you got into goalkeeping as a
Yeah.
whole.
The story's a bit weird, to be honest. Like, growing up, always been a soccer player, of course, but always loved being on the field. My dad was was a goalkeeper, and always kind of had that in our blood, in our DNA, it feels like. And my brother plays goalkeeper as well, and so it's always in the back of my mind. But I didn't really switch over to being a full-time goalkeeper until my senior year of high school, which is a funny story as well. I played goalkeeper for club, but for high school we weren't quite good enough. So they needed more players on the field rather to be in the goal.
They needed goal scorers.
Yeah, they did. And so actually I hold a couple records for Cascade High School. It's a 4A high school, super small. We had about 20 people come out for tryouts, so it wasn't like any big deal at all. But fully goalkeeper going into Corban University, which is an NAIA school in Salem, Oregon. Rock on. Went and played for them for 5 years. Broke my finger sophomore year, had to miss out and redshirt that year, and then kind of have developed into a decent goalkeeper over those 4 years. Kind of had to learn a lot on my own. Didn't have a goalkeeper coach in college. Played for the Vancouver Victory, which is like kind of like a PDL team just in Washington, and then played for the Charlotte Eagles my junior summer year of college, and then U23 Portland Timbers, and now I'm playing for Indy 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
You covered a lot that I want to dig into a bit more.
Unpack, yeah.
So you're from Salem, Oregon?
Salem,
you said?
Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an hour
Okay.
south of Portland, Oregon.
Okay, and then youth club, who did you play for?
The Capital FC Timbers is what they're now known as. It was Salem United, then CFC, then Capital Football Club. Now it's Capital FC Timbers.
Okay, so like you mentioned, you played club soccer and you played high school soccer.
Yeah.
Was there ever like a battle there where I needed to make a decision between playing full-time club soccer and kind of backing off of high school soccer, or was it always like I love playing high school soccer? I know it's a bit different
Yeah.
when you get to play with your high school friends who you see every day versus club soccer. It's a bit more serious, a bit more competitive. So kind of what was the decision there?
It's a really good question. For me, club and high school soccer, it worked out perfectly. Since it was such a small high school, they didn't mind me. Like, they kind of almost. My dad was actually the coach for the last 2 years at high school,
Okay.
so they were able to like kind of work out practice times around my club schedule as well. If I would have made the Timbers Academy, they would have forced me to not be on the high school team. That's just how it kind of worked back when the academy in Portland was just starting. And so I would have then had to make a decision completely to not play high school soccer and go fully in the Timbers Academy, but I got cut from them as a goalkeeper, which was like hard at the time, but the plan, right, the full plan of my life, it worked out perfectly.
Right.
So luckily I wasn't really ever in a position where I had to choose. So it worked out. It's just the load in the fall was really heavy because I still did club soccer throughout high school, even during the fall season.
So do you think kind of that getting cut from Timbers Academy was a bit of a motivation for you in terms of continuing on as a goalkeeper?
Yeah, it was hard. It was like at first getting cut from a team where you're like, this is what you have to do to become a pro. That's what I thought. That's kind of what the kind of everyone's thinking, trying out,
Right.
and like what they kind of told us as well. Yeah, I thought at the moment I thought it was kind of like, maybe I shouldn't be a goalkeeper. Maybe I should just stick to playing on the field. Maybe I should just try to play on the field in college as well. But I think it showed me what I needed to become. I think I realized that my standard wasn't quite there yet compared to the people who've been playing goalkeeper their whole life, trying out for that same position, where I had just switched over to halftime goalkeeper when I was 16. And so I accepted it, and it definitely was a motivator for me, without a doubt.
I think that's important for a lot of younger goalkeepers to understand. Like you're gonna experience failures, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna get cut, things like that happen to even the greatest. I know it's a really pretty cliche. Michael Jordan got cut from his high
100%.
school team. I feel like that's one of the greatest examples people use all the time. But it's kind of hard to relate. People are like, oh, well, I'm not going to be Michael Jordan, but it happens to professional goalkeepers. You and I, I've been cut before. I've been not re-signed to teams. It happens, and I feel like people need to use that as a motivator, and as opposed to like, oh, this isn't really for me.
Higher as the wind blows. I know that I'm rich enough for pride. I see $1 billion in your eyes.
So, you talked about getting injured at Corban. So your freshman year, you were a starter.
Yeah.
Right? Started freshman year. Was that when you're going into Corban? Was that part of the decision going to Corban? Was like, I know I'm going to get playing time. I can get experience. Hopefully, be a 4-year starter, and try and push myself to the next level.
Yeah. Corban is almost like I didn't want to really go to Linfield. That was my only other option at the time. So Corban was like my really only decent option for school. And so when thinking about if I could start, it wasn't really, I didn't actually have that in my mind too much. It was more like I looked at the coach, and he, after talking to him, after like having a good conversation, I visited the school. I was able to say like this, I could see home being here, like without a doubt. Though it wasn't my hometown, it felt right. It felt like the coaches were really trustworthy dudes, really good guys. They knew their soccer. And honestly, they gave me 2 jerseys when I got to Corban. One was a field jersey, one was a goalkeeper jersey. They didn't actually know what I was going to be.
Yeah.
They literally had me as a center midfielder / goalkeeper, and so I didn't know going in if the starter that was there, who was a junior year, who had started the last 2 years. So he was in his junior year, started the last 2 years, and then he got a freshman coming in with 2 jerseys. He doesn't know if he's a goalkeeper or a field player. And they basically just said, we're going to see after preseason what happens. If you're good enough to start in the goal, we're just going to have you start in the goal. If you're not, then we're going to see if we can use you on the field. And so, with no goalkeeper coach, with the school not doing very well the last year, I just really worked hard, like in preseason, and was able to get the starting spot in the goal. I don't know if that says more about my talent as a goalkeeper or the lack of talent that was there, or maybe the lack of experience overall in goalkeeping.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I guess the decision to go to Corban wasn't really based on if I could start. It was more based on like, was the staff there able to like make me into someone that I could really be proud of at the end of those 4 years.
Right. I think that's one of the most important decisions when making your college choice, where you're going to play soccer. It's not just about the soccer, about the off the field.
Right.
Can you academics, can you see yourself there even if you're not playing soccer? Are you going to mesh with the guys, coaching staff? Obviously those are all things you're going to learn when you get there, but you can get a good feel for it if you actually put the work in and do your research on the school. So that's good to hear that you're making decisions other than just purely on soccer playing time. And
to be fair, I had a belief too in my heart that was like, if I'm destined, like I've always wanted to play pro soccer, right, since we were kids. And I kind of felt like if I'm in my heart, if I'm going to be a pro soccer player, it doesn't really matter where I go. And that was a very uneducated way of thinking. Like going into it was very naive, but in a way it was like, it didn't really matter in my head, like where I was going to go. I was going to pursue it with everything I had.
Right.
And the coach for me is like the biggest thing. Like he believed in me. He believed that like he could help me. And so it just worked out. Like in the end, like it's a lot of belief, self-belief, and a lot of coach. Aaron Lewis specifically, I'll say his name because the guy he really worked with me. And that's the biggest thing for me, telling kids to go to college. Like, do you trust the coach? Does the coach trust you? Do you believe that you can have a good relationship with him, that he can help you get to that next level?
That's good. That's good. So let's talk a little bit about the injury. What exactly was it? How long did it keep you out? I saw that you were out for basically the entire sophomore season. So I'm assuming it was pretty major.
Yeah.
But how did you bounce back from that? You know, mentally going into the season, obviously as a starter, had a season before that where you were starting, and then getting injured and trying to bounce back for the junior year. What was the process there?
Yeah. Right at the beginning of my sophomore year, dislocated and then fractured all at the same time. Just going for a low ball and some high grass. The grass caught. Should I say the gloves that I was wearing? It wasn't your gloves. It was some Nike Vapors. So a lot of finger mobility. But I did pop it out of socket. We replaced it. The fracture wasn't really anything to worry about, but then they set it in a brace incorrectly. Anytime you dislocate your fingers, it should never be braced like this. It should always be braced like that. It's like something, again, everyone should know.
Exactly.
Freshman Jordan or sophomore Jordan didn't know that. My trainers didn't really have a good idea about what it was either. So, needless to say, 6 months is when I could start catching a ball again. Because of when we figured out the severity of like the tissue damage and just all equaled out to a whole season being missed. There were talks about me playing on the field that season. Really glad I didn't do that. That would have been a terrible idea. But throughout that injury, that was really tough. Freshman year starting, having a really, really good year. And like you kind of get a little bit of pride, which is unhealthy in a way. And so I felt like a lot of the pride was bubbling up to maybe an unhealthiness. Maybe I wasn't showing on the outside, but I could definitely feel in my heart that I thought I was like, shit,
Right.
I thought I was a lot.
Right.
And so that was, honestly, it was really healthy that it happened to me in a way. Again, looking back at it now, it refocused me into being more of a team player and like learning how to support from the bench, not even from the bench, from like the sidelines, and learning how to be a good teammate and to be a supporter and to be someone who can get behind guys and lift them up instead of compete against them. It just showed me a different kind of way of being a teammate. It truly humbles you a lot. Like injuries, they can be a perfect moment to grow into someone that you didn't really think you could be. Looking back at it now, it was and gaining a redshirt year to then play a fifth year of college soccer. At the moment, I was devastated because at the time it's like, this is it. Like, I'm a soccer player. That's all I am. Like, I'm a goalkeeper. I'm like a stud. And then to be kind of knocked off your high horse of it and realizing that you got to be a lot more things before you just a soccer player. Like being a good person in general, being a good teammate, being a good brother, being a good husband now. Like there's a lot of things that should come before being a soccer player. Not a lot, but like definitely a few things.
There's priorities.
Yeah, I learned that then.
I think I love that story. It's interesting. I had some sort of a similar situation in college. I didn't get injured, but coming out of high school, I wasn't a big name, but I was used to being like the one on my club team. And then I get to college and I'm behind a sophomore. I'm a freshman behind a sophomore who had played all his freshman year. Very good goalkeeper. It just wasn't something I was used to. And so just having to switch from being the guy to basically a role player on the bench, played like 5 games that year.
Yeah.
And I remember having a conversation with my coach in his office. It was my sophomore year, right towards the end of the year. We were in the CAA tournament. It was right before the championship game, and he was just, I remember him telling me, like, you're being a bit of a cancer to the team just with your attitude, and the way no one really wants to be around you just because you're negative, just because I was pissed off because I wasn't playing. And I think that was a turning point in my life, career, soccer career, both on and off the field, where I realized like how much of an impact my personality, me, like my aura has around other people, not just on my teammates, but on people off the field, on my friends, my family, things like that. So I think little situations like that where they're kind of minuscule in terms of like, just being a good teammate. That doesn't really have a huge impact on the rest of your life. You don't think it does, but like being a good person, which is a part of being a good teammate, can affect the rest of your life. And I think little stories like that, like kids need to hear. Kids, you have to go through it and really understand it. Looking back, like at the time, I was pissed off. I hated that conversation. I hated it with my coach. But looking back now, it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me, and I love it. So. Really grateful for him, and I'm glad you were able to learn from your injury experience and turn into the person you are today. So that's awesome. Let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about your PDL experience. How did you get to Charlotte?
Well, Dave Dixon and Aaron Lewis. So Dave Dixon, now the assistant coach. So it's a big story, right? The assistant coach now for
Dave's at Indy, I remember.
Yeah. And so he was the head coach at Charlotte, the Charlotte Eagles, a phenomenal PDL team, like truly phenomenal PDL team. They work a lot with, so they're a great PDL team, great soccer team, but the organization as a whole, class, like absolute class. They send people all over the world to do ministry through sports. So in my school at Corban University is a NAIA school, and they're a Christian university, and so we work a lot with like sharing like our beliefs with other people, like bringing it out and like doing it in whatever we do. And so Charlotte Eagles have a similar mission, and so naturally the two organizations kind of are close to each other, and so it worked out that the school's relationship with the organization was good, and then we started playing really well. Corban was doing very well. I had a few good seasons, and Dave Dixon honestly kind of took a chance on me. There's 4 goalkeepers that year with Charlotte, so like he signed me on as like a 4th goalkeeper. Didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. Remembering that conversation, I knew I had to play PDL to become a pro, especially going to Corban. It just wouldn't have been enough, which is great because I was able to leverage the experience in PDL with my NAIA success, and it kind of made into a nice soccer resume. But without kind of getting the call from Dave in Charlotte Eagles, I don't think I would be here without a doubt. I wouldn't be here at all today. But yeah, getting there, it kind of just worked out with the relationship between the two organizations. I was going to go play for Lane United, which is a team in the Western Conference for the PDL, but then Charlotte called and kind of just felt like a better situation to go to come here for the summer, and I've never been away from school. I mean, from Oregon, so it worked out. It just worked out. Dave Dixon, my coach Aaron Lewis made it happen.
So you're there one season?
Yeah, one PDL season.
Okay.
3 months.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. And so you, like you mentioned, you work with the Powell brothers as well.
Yeah, good guys.
It's a crazy story. I used to train them.
Yeah.
I was probably maybe 19 or 20 years old. They were like, I guess like 12, 13. And then I guess full circle now, James actually came to train with the Independents about a month ago.
Really?
So
That's sick.
Went from training them to training with them. So it's one of those sort of just a, I guess, sort of feel good stories. It's good to see. It's always good to see goalkeepers that you work with succeed and do well. I remember watching the PDL championship the Eagles were in. I remember watching James play, watching him at UNC, seen Will at South Carolina a couple of times. So it's good to see them exceed expectations, I guess. But how was the Eagles experience for you in terms of playing? So you said there were 4 goalkeepers. I mean, that's got to be a lot of competition.
Yeah. Will and James, insanely talented goalkeepers. Jacob Dunnett, very, very good goalkeeper. He was kind of similar to my situation, actually. He went to a small D3 school. Both of us kind of came in as a 4th and 3rd goalkeeper. Didn't really know what was going to happen. James had started the year prior. Will was on the team as well, and so like kind of a tall mountain to climb. Never been away from home for longer than like a couple weeks, so it was like a lot of getting used to, and I didn't actually see the field until like midway through the season, and then started like a bunch of games after that. I think me and Will switched off after that, it was just a crazy. I've never, and it was also the first time I got consistent goalkeeper training. Like, normally it's like maybe once every 2 weeks back home, if I like sought it out. And so just like having goalkeeper training, having high level coaching, and like the organization as a whole, like they treat practices like a professional organization would, and it's no surprise to me that Dave's now at a USL team, because he ran his practices like a USL team would run, a professional team would run their practices, and so they gave everyone a chance as well. They never really wrote anybody off. They even though I was like a third, fourth string keeper, they still had enough belief in me to try me out in a game, and it worked out, and was able to get a consistent starting spot and eventually start for them in the playoffs. So it was like kind of like I was the guy at Corban coming into a new situation where much more trained and experienced goalkeepers, and trying to figure out who I am and what my style is, and if I can even play at this level. Because there's a massive step up from Corban, massive, especially with goalkeeper coaches and like people who know the game. Dave Dixon is a goalkeeper as well, so like these guys know their stuff. They know that my technique's not very good. They know that I don't have a goalkeeper trainer, and so I had to do a lot of like loneliness. We're in a different type of host family where we were alone a lot of the times and didn't have a car, and so not playing. Staying home on away trips, right? Those are the worst. Yeah. And how to kind of figure out again why I'm playing soccer. Like, is it because I love it, or is it because I love, get what I get out of it? Do I love being a teammate, or do I just like starting or playing? It's like I love starting and playing, but I also gotta love being a teammate, love being on a team. And it's never weakness, right? When I talk about like being a teammate and like having to sit the bench, it's like I didn't love sitting the bench. It's more like being the most useful, like where you're at, essentially.
Exactly.
That's on the bench.
I don't think you can really question someone's desire to get on the field. I feel like if you step into training every single day, like you're there to compete, you're there to, try and get in that 11. And I think the toughest thing for anyone not in that 11 is to be on the bench and still be a supportive and good teammate. So people may question whether, people say, oh, you're okay with being on the bench. No one's okay with being on the bench, but you have to figure out your role within the team. And if your role within the team right now is to, play second string, support the first string, support the guys on the field, that's what you have to do. So I think it takes a lot more of a man to do that than to just sit and pout on the sideline.
A good thing too is like if you always strive for greatness, trying to always be the best you can be, you're going to put yourself in positions where you're not going to be the best person on the team.
Exactly.
And so it should be a healthy routine for you to not always be a starter. Eventually, you want to get to a spot where you are a starter and like you're comfortable and what not always comfortable, but you know what I mean. Like there's a bit more consistency, but if you really are pushing yourself, you're gonna find yourself in situations where people are challenging you, and you have to mentally figure out how strong you are and if you can handle it. And I think you can attest to this too, but our value as goalkeepers just goes up and up if we can be good teammates. 'Cause a lot of the times we're not like a field player where we can get subbed in at the 60th minute. Yeah. We may not see field time until someone gets hurt or something happens.
Right.
We're not just going to get subbed in. And so being able to be a good teammate, I found, is like it just raises your value as a goalkeeper. And I think the coach at Houston Dynamo, that's one point that he made like really clear. It's like if you can't be a good teammate, a team may not even want to look at you. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said it's one of the toughest positions to play in sports is that second string goalkeeper because you want to be on the field. Yeah. So it's got to be a balance between that desire to push and to fight for that number one spot, but also supporting that number one as well. But so you mentioned Houston, obviously. That's where we met. Yeah. So there's Combine, for those who don't know, Combine down in Houston. Houston Dynamo brought in a bunch of mainly college goalkeepers, young guys, a couple pro guys to train for a few days. So tell me a little bit how you got there and then what the experience was like for you.
Yeah. That was just last December.
That was in December,
about a year ago. No, what? No, that's like a few months ago.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months ago.
Wow, lots happened since. It's crazy. That was one of the coolest experiences of my life, actually, as a goalkeeper. Um, Never been in an environment with that many talented goalkeepers at that type of a facility. My agent actually helped set that one up. I didn't even have a connection to the Houston Dynamo until my agent kind of through like connections found out that there was a combine, sent my highlight video in, and they basically just like talked me up to allow me to get to Houston Dynamo, to train with them and to train with everyone that was there. The experience itself, like, again, humbling because like these are all guys D1 pros, all sorts of talent, and so getting there is a really unique experience. I don't know if you've been in an experience like that. Have you
I
done
haven't
a combine before like that?
never done anything like that before, so that's why I felt like it was such a unique experience for me as a pro. This is my 7th season now,
Yeah.
but I've never been in an environment where strictly goalkeeping, high level of goalkeeping, working from the coaching staff to the players, the trainers, guys the fitness guys who helped us out as well.
Yeah.
It was just it was a great 3 or 4 days. I think I learned a lot both on and off the field.
For sure.
And I felt like it was an invaluable experience.
Yeah, and it wasn't just training too. They kind of like showed you what it was like to be a pro and a pro in that environment as well. And like seeing guys like you, like Patrick McLean, specifically you two, like it was really cool to see all the D1 guys like Nikki, Corti, gosh, there's so many of them. I can't even really think of all the names. There's at least like 12 of us there, right?
Yeah.
Michael Nelson playing for the Houston now, like a lot of guys were there that were talented. And so seeing that, it's like, it made me really elevate my game just in those 3 days. I felt like I was like, first day I was a different goalkeeper, and the third day I was like, felt like I was a lot better.
Yeah.
Getting that many goalkeepers in a room you'd think would be kind of like, what's that going to look like? Goalkeepers are freaking weird. And out there, like, who knows? But it worked out, like, totally worked out. I met a lot of guys I still talk to this day, actually, in that room, in that locker room. And by the way, he doesn't talk much about himself, but he was, like, the best guy there. Cleanest hands in the game. Like, honestly, always repping prime focus. But it was really cool to see that.
That's good.
And it was neat, too, because I had followed Prime Focus on Instagram prior to coming.
That was kind of like a surreal moment for me. It's like, I manage pretty much everything with Prime Focus, so I'll see, we have Twitter followers, Instagram followers, people, people buy the gloves, use the gloves, whatever. But I've never really met someone who actually like follows us on Instagram and sees our posts, and so something like that is motivating for me.
Good,
it felt good for me, and I'm glad you follow us, and I hope you continue to follow us through our journey. But I felt like for me, the big thing with meeting you, one reason I wanted to do an interview with you is because I felt like you stood out. I thought you were, very good on the field, but even more so in the locker room. You got a bunch of guys who never come together. They don't really know each other. I felt like at times there were just different personalities, but I felt like you were the personality that stood out the most. And I think that's one thing that helps with a long career is having a personality that not so much over the top, but someone who, you can talk to your teammates, you can bring people together. Not so much boisterous, but good on the field, good off the field, just a good person to be around. I felt like you remind me a bit of a teammate, a goalkeeper I've worked with before. Name's Adam Grinwitz, give him a shout out. But I thought when in 2015 he was a backup to me in Rochester, and it was his rookie year, first year out, and I thought he was one of the most important people on our team. Not only for me, just because simply he pushed me every single day, but his personality in the locker room, his personality on the field in training, his positive mentality. I thought he was one of the main reasons why we drove to win a championship that year, why we're so successful. So I think someone like you, who I think has the talent to play at the professional level, but it's more so, a lot of people have the talent, but not a lot of people have the drive, not a lot of people have the mentality and the personality to stick at this level. So I felt like you were one of the people that stood out for me at that combine that I felt like could be successful at the next level. So
Of course, that's cool.
I appreciate it. That's why I wanted to talk to you, get to know you a bit more. We didn't get a lot of time at the combine
For sure.
to talk, so I wanted to.
He's working on his prime focus thing the whole time, man. He's locked in.
Just wanted to sit down with you and get to know you a bit more. So
Anywhere out this place, I wanna run away.
let's talk a bit about the jump, the transition. What's it been like? What is do you feel like it's been a huge step up in terms of level of play, getting adjusted to the professional level? I mean, I know Indy have a good track record in terms of success on the field, good fan base. So I know that it's a good organization in the United States.
Yeah.
So how has it been just getting adjusted to everything?
Yeah, well, John Bush was the keeper before
Right.
for Indy 11, legend. Got a pair of his gloves, worked with him a little bit in the preseason, which was kind of another dream come true. He's like, for American goalkeeping, he's really done it all,
He has.
essentially. And so, like, getting to meet him was really cool as well. But the jump, a lot of things prepared, but PDL prepared me extremely well, especially the two teams I played for, Charlotte Eagles and U23 to Portland Timbers. The standard that they had in training and the level that we performed at in games, getting playing time, getting a lot of reps in with high quality players, made it like this,
Yeah.
one step at a time. Definitely playing here is a step up without a doubt. Like, it's professional soccer, it should be. But the Houston Dynamo combine, I think that was massive for my ability to perform in preseason. But yeah, as far as what PDL, the college season, it's been really good stepping stones to like prepare me for now this. And there's some really freaking talented players on our team. And then Owain Fawn Williams, the guy who's starting for us currently, is insanely good and like an incredible teammate. And it just proves it just shows me time and time again that like he's an amazing goalkeeper, but you could tell the type of man he is. Like there's more reasons than just goalkeeping that he's been so successful. Plays for Wales national team, went to the Euros with them 2 summers ago, which I didn't even realize. Again, I was watching them in Charlotte when I was here at the Eagles. I was watching Wales play, and Owain was sitting on the bench, and now he's playing for Indy. It's crazy, and learning from him has been just these last couple of months have been really cool. And really, again, I feel like I'm growing every day, even in training. So, and the staff is class. Like it's been a really cool experience thus far.
That's good. I mean, so you feel like in terms of a goalkeeping group relationship, do you notice any differences in college versus pro? I mean, obviously guys are fighting for jobs now. This is livelihood versus college, where it's maybe not as serious in terms of competition, cutthroat nature, things like that. Do you notice a difference between really trying to build a relationship with your competition, basically, versus what it was like before?
It's a really good point, actually. That's goalkeepers. We're so isolated, and when we're in training, like when you're just goalkeeper training with 3 to 4 guys, it's like intense. It's the real deal. Like you're performing. Like every time you have a bad rep and they have a good rep, you're thinking in your mind, well, that's just another notch on they have on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been definitely a different type of mentality. Like learning how to be a really competitive person in training, but also monitoring it and being having a good relationship with the goalkeeper specifically and the coaches, and it's definitely something that you have to train. Like I feel like I was ready for it, especially in Charlotte. The goalkeeping level was insane there, and so that was like really prepared me, because I feel like that competition was really realistic. We're all college players fighting for spots. And it wasn't, you're right, we weren't getting paid, so it's a lot different, like, as far as, like, what it means for the long run. Man, it's definitely, like, something that you don't really expect now that money's on the line, right? Jobs are on the line, and general exposure is, like, all weighed differently in a professional game. It makes it a bit more tedious, but honestly, Owain, Ben Lundgaard as well, and myself, the 3 goalkeepers for Indy 11, we all have had a very good relationship on and off the field and in training especially. And I don't know if that's normal because, again, it's the first year in pro soccer. Ben's a rookie. Ben Lungard, he's for Columbus Crew. He is loaned to us for the season. And so, and he's more my age, and even us, like, we still have a very good relationship in training. And the way we've kind of looked at it is, like, negativity, like, wishing poorly upon each other, like, really doesn't do the individual wishing that negativity any good, nor does it do the teammate. And so, thus far, it's been pretty easy going. But I mean, again, it might change middle of the season, but as far as, like, the relationship we built thus far, like, there's definitely, like, real friendships to be made and to be had throughout this whole season. So it's definitely weird. I feel like it's not normal. I'm not sure what your experiences have been in the past.
I think for me, it's been interesting. I think I've had experiences on both ends of the spectrum in terms of when I was a rookie. I was basically a backup to a guy who was, I think he was in his 30s, coming from Germany. He had a lot of experience, very good goalkeeper. Other than, I mean, on top of the language barrier, just, we're competing, and we didn't have a close relationship. There was no animosity or anything. I definitely learned a bit from him, but we were never really, like, that close. I can say the only time I've truly had, like, a real close, like, friendship type relationship was when, like I mentioned before, with Adam Grinwis, who, I felt like he was always there to support me, always wanted me to be the best goalkeeper that I could be. And so, honestly, I learned a lot from him that year in terms of being in that position and how you support the guy who is number one. So when I've been, there's been times since that year I've been number one, I've been backup, but I feel like I've been able to develop relationships with goalkeepers in a more positive way ever since that experience. So I think it's tough. You talk about trying to, you're in training, you want to be the number one goalkeeper in
Every
training.
time.
But you don't want to wish ill against the other guy. You don't want the other guy letting in goals because I don't think that makes you better as a goalkeeper and doesn't make the team better. So it's an interesting balance, competition versus just support, being a good teammate. But I think that it's just important to, if you can focus on yourself as well as encourage the other guys, then it's just going to be a positive environment for everyone. And I just I don't like being in training where I'm not able to have a conversation with the other guy or like laugh or joke about something. Like, I like to have good relationships with the people I'm working with day in and day out because, like you said, we're so isolated. We go off and do our thing for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, and it's just us. So I kind of want to have not so much. We don't have to be best friends, but I want to have a good relationship where we can bounce ideas off each other, have conversations about different things, mistakes that we make, or good things that we've done. And just have those conversations with each other instead of it just being like an awkward environment.
Yeah, like are you okay with me like trying hard today? Yeah, it's not like healthy to be in that. Totally. And ultimately we're a team. Like, goalkeepers are a team in itself because when field players, like forwards, are doing their finishing drills, they don't care if you say, like, they don't care about you. They want to score on you.
Exactly.
They want to see you fail in a way because we're failing every time we let a goal in. Essentially. But, like, so in a way, it's like the more you encourage the other goalkeeper, it's like you're a team, and hopefully they're going to reciprocate that encouragement. It's just going to raise the level. And in a way, like Indy 11, like our goalkeeper system, we always get crap for it, but like we are pretty close knit, and it's because we kind of have each other's back in the way on the training pitch as well. Because a lot of the times, you know how it is, like the coaches will always gauge the training sessions around the team, right? The field players and making sure their rhythms on and they're getting their attacking sequences in and their defending sequences. But goalkeepers are isolated, and so being even more isolated by being just by yourself in the goal instead of having 3 other guys supporting you, it makes a massive difference. And like you said, it's made a massive difference in your life in general as a goalkeeper.
Well, I feel like we've covered a lot of topics. I think the last thing I wanted to ask you is, like, I know you mentioned Aaron Lewis, your coach at Corban. What other influences do you feel like you've had in terms of maybe it doesn't have to be exactly goalkeeping influence, just influence in your life that has gotten you to the point where you are, where you're a professional soccer player, signing that contract, having a successful college career. Who do you think has been the most influential in your life to help you to get to where you are?
There's definitely key players. Like obviously you got your family and your support system off the field. Like my wife has been the biggest support system without a doubt, like consistently through college, even high school. I met her in middle school, so like she's been always there.
Story.
Yeah, true love story.
That's awesome.
That's not goalkeeping, so I won't get into that, but she's the best. But like freshman year when I came into Corban, the seniors on that team, specifically like Tillerman, Crew, this guy that was a center back. He wasn't even a senior. He just graduated the year prior, so he's an assistant coach. And Dan and like there's a bunch of guys I can drop names on, but like the seniors, the older people in your life that you could be a veteran that's 10 years older than me on this team right now at Indy 11. They make massive influences. I'm sure you can speak to that too. When a senior comes and like comes around, puts his arm around you, right, and like kind of carries you through a process and teaches you, those guys make massive influences. And so basically all the seniors on my freshman team who accepted me and gave me confidence to succeed, that sprung me into like my career, I'd say, as a goalkeeper. Coaches, Dave Dixon, obviously, just massive influence. Jake Berry, I don't know if you know him. He was the goalkeeper coach at Charlotte.
Charlotte Eagles?
Charlotte Eagles, yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not familiar with him.
He's a beast. Like he is massive. Just being my first official consistent goalkeeper coach. And then Aaron Lewis, of course. My club coaches, Jared Rest, Ignacio Baez, guys who have really molded me into being a soccer player. And then I'd say my dad had a big influence too. You know how a lot of times guys who played professionally or in college, they have sons and they push them way too hard, or way too hard on them. It's not the case with him. He let me kind of love the game by myself, and then nurtured me into someone who can not just be a lover of the game, but go and perform as well. And he did it in a way that supported me and was healthy and pushed me all at the same time. So he has a massive influence on me as well. Professionally, Manuel Neuer, growing up watching him play, his style, who really kind of implemented the sweeper keeper.
Yeah.
It's been a style that I've admired without a doubt. And so he's been a big influence too, just watching him change the position of goalkeeping. Not single-handedly, but he's had a massive.
He's definitely
kind of single-handedly.
He's definitely had a huge push. I mean, when you think of a sweeper keeper, someone who's good with their feet, quick off their line, basically just right behind the back forward, to clean everything up. He's the first name you're going to think of. So I think that's interesting. I would say tying that in with you being a field player in high school, and obviously you've got to be pretty confident with your feet. I think that can only be seen as a bonus as a goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. So I think that's awesome that you use Manuel Neuer as someone who influences you. But I think that's all we got today. I want to say thank you for doing this interview. I think your story is definitely one that's inspiring. I think it's good to hear, as goalkeepers, we all want pretty much the same thing. We want to be the number one professional goalkeeper, but we all have different paths to getting there. And I think it's definitely good for younger goalkeepers, even experienced goalkeepers who, may be struggling a bit with certain things. Just hear other people's stories and inspiring stories like yours is how you've gotten to where you are, and the mentality that you have. I think it's key and definitely beneficial for other goalkeepers out there. So I really appreciate you doing this interview. I know you got to get ready for dinner.
Yeah, same for you.
Probably got some team stuff going on tonight, but big thanks and all the best tomorrow. Hope things continue to go well for you this season and beyond.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, well, that's it for our interview today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.